All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Raising the New Earth. We're happy to have you here. Hi, Noah.
Hi, Brooke.
Hello. So today we decided that we thought it would be good to kind of almost take a step back or take a step outward, I would say, and talk about the idea of primary foods. A lot of our past episodes, we've in many ways delved into it, but I don't think we've really shown it like in a holistic way of how um, there's so much more to where you receive energy in your life than your food. And that essentially is the concept of what primary food is. It's that you are deriving nutrients or energy in your life through different aspects. And so we will kind of go into those, just kind of what they are, but also our experiences with that and just kind of the deeper pieces of what that really means. I'll kind of start it off by saying that by looking at primary foods, I've been able to really understand how far I've come in my personal journey with really understanding what health is. When I enrolled in Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which was the school that we both went to, and to kind of kick off um, the path towards holistic health and coaching. And there was the concept of primary foods that was things other than what you eat. And my initial thought was like, okay, but really I just want to like teach people how to eat. Like that's kind of what's the most important for health. I really had connected with the idea that food is not just calories, but that really learning the different foods are healing for the body, which is still so important. But what looking back now, I have come to understand is that I could probably even argue that all of the other nutrients are potentially more definitely as important as it is with food. And I think, you can eat the so-called perfect diet, which there really is none. It's just what's perfect for you. But, whole foods, plant-based, limited toxins through pesticides and herbicides. However, if you don't have these other aspects of within your life, then you're really not deriving the full amount of health that you could. So I'm excited to kind of take a deep dive into the different primary foods and also how Journey of Intrinsic Health, I think for both of us, really even deepened the concept of those. What are your thoughts around that, Noah?
Yeah, so primary foods to me is associated with childhood because as children, whether, someone grew up playing basketball or soccer or going to the park with friends back in the day, and I feel that we all lived on primary foods. And it's the same as adults when we, fall in love or working passionately on a project. That fun and excitement and love of the daily life, this is the primary foods. And so actual food becomes secondary, right? And now if you can think about a time where you were depressed or your self-esteem was low, you were really starving for primary foods, and no amount of secondary foods from the fridge would do, right? And so sometimes when I you know when I have some more challenging days than others and I feel that I need something sweet or something salty, this is my secondary food. So what I really need is that hug or that, sense of encouragement or that family quality time. So that's what we mean when we say primary foods. It's everything but actual food that elevates your soul, elevates your spirit, takes you to this satisfactory levels of, adrenaline and serotonin and all those good love hormones.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the tie back to childhood because that is so true that children are just more connected into that, um, all of those things. So with that, I guess we'll kind of start breaking them down. But the first one is community. or healthy relationships. And, we've talked about that a lot on the podcast, just how important it is to surround yourself with community. Um, and it's a way to, I think, reflect back, to your best qualities in a sense, and that deep sense of connection. And I think that in this world, we have social media, which is so great. However, it can also lack in real connection, not necessarily like I feel like super connected with you, Noah, and like, but I do think that it's always that it's so important to find community and have relationships that you feel fulfilled in. So within your immediate family, just bringing your energy to those. I think sometimes we forget that those close relationships do need nurtured and fostered. And a good episode to go back to is with Christine Earhart with the Thriving Relationships. So really nurturing the relationships that are meaningful to us is important. So yeah.
Yeah. And when I think of community, um I think about breaking bread together. I think about communal eating. And I also, when you mentioned, you know, being in each other's company, it's almost like, you know, doing things on Zoom and how the technology has progressed is amazing. It allows us to do so many things, but there is absolutely zero replacement to bathing in someone else's frequency, as I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
There's electromagnetic vibe and essence to each and every one of us. And if you dive deeper into geometry, they also say that we're each of us is built with a sign of a particular geometrical sign that is specific to us. And so it's not in vain that we feel attracted to certain people or want to stay longer around certain people that makes us feel good because this is a match. Like our vibration matches. And we can't get that through Zoom and we can't get that through social media. On the opposite side, though, community has become a lot smaller when it comes to finding mentorships. So if you look around you and there's no one that you're looking up to, you can find that through a mentor online. You can find that through a group on Facebook and not feel so lonely. So, of course, if you take that over the real deal, I'll choose the real deal. But if this is all you have right now, obviously go for that because it's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, depending on the medium, you certainly can build what feels like a real community online. It's just knowing that scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and like, seeing pictures of, what someone that you talked to 10 years ago, like, although it may feel like connection in a sense, I think that all of us know at the deep, like that's not real community or connection.
Right.
Um, and I love how you brought up the breaking of the bread as being community, because I think that ties into the food in that, when we do eat, we're often kind of alone or shoving food in our mouth, and therefore we're not
Totally.
present with it. So the more that we can bring back like those aspects of, even if it's just your family every night and, sitting down to a meal and giving it that opportunity of like, this is your time to talk about your day or talk about, things. And a lot of that gets lost when we're kind of rushing from here and there. So you're nurturing those relationships through your food. And then on the flip side, you're not mindlessly eating, where when you do that, you could be, eating way more than you really need to, or grabbing foods that aren't, the best for your body. So it's kind of like works together in a beautiful way.
Yeah, or not being in check with what you really want to eat right now. Maybe it's on an autopilot. Maybe you're eating more than your body can handle. And if you're married to a personal trainer like I am, he's used to, and a lot of them are used to sitting at Whole Foods with their phones and eat their lunch during their 15-minute break or whatever. And this is a habit that needs to be looked into again when you're within your family, because sometimes he'll do that, like he'll sit with his phone because it has become a habit, and then you know these things can be reminded to let go of once you're with a family. So we are not sitting with phones around the table or a tablet or anything. We're sitting together. And for our family, it's not dinner because I eat dinner really early, but
Yeah.
it's the time that they come back from school. So it's around 1:30 or 2:30 that we sit down for lunch together.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah, so important. Um, the next one is regular physical activity, which this is the one where this is like the primary food that I think people get it, in the sense that when you talk about what it takes to be healthy, like in kind of a mainstream way, you always hear diet and exercise, diet and exercise. Um, However, I think that like sometimes the interpretation of what exercise really is and how it's beneficial can be a little bit misguided. So, an example would be that if you're going to take a hike in nature, I mean, it's always good to get your heart rate a little bit up, yes, but even if it was at a stroll, a slow saunter, I should say, that can often be sometimes so much more healing and needed for your health than some adrenaline filled exercise when your stress hormones are already tapped out, and your body needs something different. It needs to be put in that relaxation response. So um I think that high intensity workouts certainly have their place. I think that sometimes those are overemphasized, or they're just, it's just that focus on calories, just burn the calories and that's all that matters. Just as with food, it's to just take in the calories and that's all that matters. And no, neither of those is actual true. There's so much more happening than just the consumption or expenditure of calories with both of those things. So um I think that it's so important to find the ways for you where you can move your body in what is most aligned with what you need.
100%. And it also heavily dependent on your bioterrain. So your bio-individuality, what is your objective? So if we're working, with people from the entertainment industry or people that are in front of the camera, their need to look a certain way may take over their, casual stroll outside. Not to take the casual stroll or the hike outside will be more beneficial long term because it will help reduce the cortisol levels. It will help them connect to Mother Nature. So long term, yes, this is the most amazing field they can be surrounded by. However, I would add that they will probably need to do their HIIT or their, weightlifting, but the combination of them both is what you want. And you mentioned, someone working themselves so hard at the gym. So I'm working with mental health population. I have a lot of people that have eating disorders. And one of the main characteristics that you see is consistent with them is the fact that they work out to a point where they are, laying flat on the floor of the gym. So they can work out all day, every day, but the intention is different. The intention of them working out is lack of self-esteem, lack of positive body image. These are, these are mental, this is a mental illness that needs to be dealt with from different facets. But if your intention is to get a good workout in, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is this sustainable long term? What is my, level of stress this week or in general? Because if I have a client that seeks to lose weight, yes, she can have her 10,000 steps daily. But if she's capable of that much more, then we need to activate the metabolism efficiency. And at a certain age, body resistant training can be very, very, very beneficial. Whether it's yoga, you lifting your own body weight, which is the best of both worlds. Like, yoga, Tai Chi are amazing. Just look at the blue zones. They're doing it consistently. And also, weightlifting a few times a week can be very, very, very beneficial, especially starting the age where you lose muscle mass. So it needs to be,
Yes.
looked into individually.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And it's definitely so true that as you age, it's looking at exercise a little bit different, and those weight bearing exercises are going to become even more important. Yeah. I like how you brought up the intention as well from your mental health patients, people who have eating disorders. But really, if you look at the marketing messages that were fed, they are also just all about physical appearance and, looking a certain way. And not, it's not to say that there's anything wrong with exercising to, try to, make yourself long and lean or however you want to look, but it's more of the intention than just that. And it's really tapping into how you feel, because that's what's going to keep you coming back. Like, that's what's going to keep you consistent, is when you feel the results of the exercise. And I think it's something that we just have to be aware of, because the messages that we're given are anything but the internal ones.
100%. And that's why you see girls and boys at 12 years old having such a low body image. And I ask them, where did it start? Sometimes it starts from home. Sometimes it starts at camp. One person mentions something. For me, when I experienced low body image was when I was dancing. I was a dancer. And so I always felt I'm overweight because I never looked as skinny as the other girls. But that is just how my body is. Later in life, you come to terms with, oh my God, I am strong. I'm built for greatness. You turn that around because you have what we're going to approach later, which is your faith and your self-esteem. But with ED population, with the eating disorder population, I work on joyful movement. So instead of telling them, okay, you have this amount of weight you would like to lose, let's find movement that you will enjoy, so that I take them away from this hustle and bustle, working themselves to death at the gym, to, okay, what do you enjoy doing? Let's just dance. Put some music on, go outside, let's just dance. Let's do that. Let's take a walk around your beautiful, house that we have them in staying in, and stuff like that. So they are changing the habitual pattern that they've been on for so long, 12 years out of life, 25 years, 30 years out of their life. So this is part of a big element of what we do with them, to try to shift their way they think about themselves.
Yeah. And I would say that women in general, we kind of are in that spiral pattern of like, I got to diet and work out, like, and it's really is like breaking those mental habitual cycles of that kind of, I should be doing this because this is
Yeah.
this is what I'm being told. And yeah, finding again
Yeah.
what's most beneficial to you. And it could be a walk around the block, or an intense HIIT training workout. But and that's why too, again, the value of health coaching is so important, because you have that person who can help reflect back to you on what it is you really need, and where your motivation is coming from,
Yeah.
your why, which is
Yeah.
important.
And when I started this job, I was really surprised to see so many boys and young men having such low self-image.
Yeah.
So many I thought it was just, no, it was so many of them.
Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't get the attention it is. And even I say, oh, it's women that, but it's men
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's men as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, definitely. Um, another primary food is a fulfilling career, or I think another way to say that is just finding your purpose, and a purpose that you can, you have be your mode of living, or I guess the how you bring in income. So which that would be a career. So I know I love when we talked about, or you brought up the blue zones in one of our episodes and talked about ikigai. And that's always stuck with me, because I love that the Japanese culture actually has like a word for that. And so yeah, just where we can find something that, and this is throughout our lifetime, not until just like we reach a certain age and then we're like, oh, I'm done with that. And
Mhm.
that was kind of where we were talking about it, that it's really important to have something that fulfills you and gets you out of bed and excited every morning. And if you're in a job that is draining your energy and is toxic, and you're coming home, because I've been in this place, you come home and all you want to do is grab a glass of wine and de-stress from your day. It's kind of like, it's not even just the day itself, but it's also all of the habits that kind of come with that, that are kind of a piece of, working the majority of your day in something that brings you no joy whatsoever.
Yeah, it's that domino effect. You're trying to correct, the misery you felt working by something that is not beneficial. And then the next day it's like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I know for me, like I would get home, or I would, have a busy day at work, and then everybody would go to happy hour. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. Cause it's like, oh, that's like the time where I can just kind of decompress and socialize and everything else. And then you come home and like you don't really get anything done. And I mean, I was younger too, and then wake up the next day not feeling so hot. So it's like this vicious
yeah,
cycle. And when in reality, like you can get that happy hour feeling throughout your day, by and not even but that connection to
yeah,
social and just joy and fulfillment. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the COVID allowed us to look at our lives differently. So many people just didn't want to go back to their old jobs. So many
Mhm.
people, like myself, went back to school and, are in pursuit of a higher education because, it allows us to rethink our lives, what it is that we want, finding our purpose or refinding our purpose at a later stage in life. I recently heard, I love Rick Rubin. I think he's such an amazing human and
Yeah.
non-artist counselor to the artist. Like he's definitely connected. And I heard him say something. He said, well, if you love the entertainment industry, if you love writing, if you love singing, if you love being in a band, and you still have a different job, make the hours after your job be your purpose. Make your job have that sense of financial, allow you to have that sense of financial freedom so that you can pursue what it is that you truly desire in your heart. And I thought it's such a great advice because not everyone can just leave their jobs, have a leap of faith, and now what?
Yeah. That's
Right?
such a good point. Yeah. Such a good point. Because and 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 I think that if you are doing your passion, because I've been here too, with trying to get health coaching off the ground with no other income, oftentimes when it becomes that desperation energy, then it does take the joy out of it. So I think that's such important advice to take, that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's your main income source. Maybe at some point it will be, or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll always be a hobby. But if you can deliberately connect in every day with that passion and deriving joy, yeah, and the
Yeah, which
creativity of it.
used to be taboo back in the day. I remember I was living in New York and I met with some, high profile people and they asked me, what do you do? I'm a 20-year-old in New York. Of course, I got to hustle and bustle to pay for my voice lessons, my dance lessons. I was like, I wait tables. I'm a waitress. It's like, well, you can't be a waitress and an artist. It was like the worst comment ever.
Right.
What, you want me to be on the street while I pursue my dreams? Like what is it that, so like we said in the episode before, 2 episodes before, we are Renaissance people. It is okay and it is allowed to have more than one of your facets come to life. You can be everything that you choose to be. And within that specific season, one thing become your highlight. Like one thing moves and shifts for something else to shine. And that's
Mhm.
how we work. It does not have to be, I am that one thing. I always say, I'm not, yes, I am a mother. I'm a mother and I have a passion, and I have a passion and I go to school, or and I enjoy my downtime on the couch every once in a while, doing
Yeah.
self-care because self-care is the best care. You can be everything, you are everything. So that was just the worst comment.
Yeah. Well, and I think that brings up too that there could be a lot of stress induced by other people saying, "What is your passion?" as if it
Yeah,
has to be one thing that you're
right,
like dedicating everything to. And yeah, like you can be multi-passionate and have a lot of different interests and fulfill them all. And yeah, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into one direction. That's actually kind of the opposite of what, really finding your purpose and passion is. And I think there's sometimes a little bit, and that's why too, I think that that's a good, that the Japanese has just this word ikigai, because it's really, I think that like it loosely translates to your purpose and
purpose.
passion, but it's
Hmm.
really, yeah, but it's like, it's also, I think, I mean, I don't really know the Japanese language, but I think that when you take like terms like that, it's the essence that you're holding on to. It's not like your purpose in the way that we sometimes with the English language, it's
Right,
like, yeah, I mean, your purpose really, when it all boils down to it, it's like to constantly just be alive, find what makes you feel alive.
right.
Um, and that can shift and change. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so uh this next one is what I feel like I really can't have come full circle on, but it's having spirituality, or not even necessarily having to call it spirituality, but some sort of connection greater than yourself, that connection to the larger whole. And when I learned about like that being important through IIN, I just remember thinking like, there's no way I'm going to talk to a client about like religion and God. And like, really, that's all I could like put the context of like spirituality around, was like, I'm not talking about that. But I think, when I look back, it shows how far I've come, because I think that if you aren't, I mean, and I don't want to diminish the importance of all these other things that we've talked about, but if you're like feeling like you're doing all of these things and you're not finding fulfillment, even if you're in a career and like there's something that's still missing and there's a piece that just feels off, to me, I think that where to perhaps look is, where are you getting that connection to source energy? And, it doesn't, you can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it your higher self. I think that, everybody has different terms that kind of can turn them off or that they can connect into. But the important thing is finding that piece where you can connect back into the, you know, that nutrient, that full, that connection. And what are, I
Yeah.
know that you have a lot to say about this one too, because
We just had the episode before is with the Vidua from the Kabbalah Center, and we brought him to the podcast because, first of all, he's an amazing teacher from the Kabbalah Center, and second of all, to me, Kabbalah has gave me a sense of huge purpose in my life. I was kind of like a lost soul for a while there, and I told a story on that episode that I was, held by the hand going to the Kabbalah Center by my dentist and friend Igal, because he noticed that I was just, you know, spinning the wheel. I came here for a purpose. It was an artistic purpose, and going, and it's a really difficult industry. It's a very harsh industry, and mental illness is very present in this industry, and no one really talks about it. And so he was the one that said, you need to go, you need to see a lecture. There was an open lecture. I went to see it, and I never looked back, because that has given me the faith and that sense of higher self within me. and that trust in the universe, and the belief that nothing is coincidence, and the belief that I am capable of bringing really good things into my life when I start thinking good things about myself. So very much like Louise Hay, what are your thoughts? What are your, or Joe Dispenza, what are your daily thoughts, and how can you crowd them out and bring in more beneficial thoughts? It can be in a sense of a mantra, it can be in your yoga practice, but it's not that hour that is devoted to meditation or yoga practice, and then the other 23 hours are out the window because you're still stressed and giving in to the exterior circumstances that seem so scary. No, it's a day in and day out spiritual practice that allows you to recalibrate internally everything that is around you. So to me, Kabbalah has been really major in how I and we conduct our lives as a family.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that a good kind of summarization of that is like really the integration of your spiritual practice. And for me, and I definitely don't want to speak for, everyone, because I know a lot of people do find that connection through religion, but
Mm-hmm.
in my personal, journey, I think that I would never understand the benefits of it in the sense that you would go to church for an hour and it was like, just go for that hour. And then you've got your, religion done for the week, is kind of what I kind of took from that. And, that was just me personally, and again, a lot of that too is from the church service. What I was getting was not what I could integrate into my daily life. I didn't really understand how to. And what shifted for me was those spiritual practices or mantras, and just understanding mentally how to change my thoughts to where it could be the middle of the day and I would catch myself thinking some spiral thought that would like unhinge me and get me, to spiral somewhere where I didn't want to be. And for me, actually, and this was from a return to love, I remember she said like a really powerful prayer is, God, help me to see this differently, help me to see this situation differently. And I remember I started to put that into practice where something didn't go my way or what I thought, I needed or what I wanted the circumstance to be. And so just saying that simple prayer was a way for me to mentally change direction of, my thinking, and to automatically see the blessings. And to me, that allows, how I take that is, it allows God to show you the lesson or the blessing or where I normally see it. So I think all that to say that it's finding those practices to you that you can really connect in with your life and see the differences that they make in making you feel more connected, more whole, more present to your reality as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I really resonate with that. I like that. I like that call to the creator or your higher self. Just show me where I'm meant to be. Just show me. And there's so many instances just like that in the Bible where someone called out to the higher God or whoever you believe in to just be shown the way that they're meant to go. Just show me where I'm meant to be. Show me where and that connectingness within yourself allows you to develop this trust of, okay, I may not see the path that I'm meant to go on, but I know there is one. And so I'm going to keep walking. I'm going to keep walking. I'm going to keep trusting. I'm going to keep. And when you said that hour or that, 2 hours at church and then going back home, you can say it about every religion, right? That these 2 hours doing Shabbat service at a synagogue or going to the mosque or going to, yes, it's the same thing. If it injects you with light, if it injects you with a sense of community, then all you need to do is take that fulfillment that you're feeling once you have left the church or the mosque or whatever, or the synagogue, and continue that throughout the day. It's like someone working out once a week. It is not enough. This is a machine meant to be moved. It's a move it or lose it. So you can't just go for a walk once a day and expect everything else to fall into place. It doesn't work like this. The same with spirituality. Day in and day out, what is your spiritual practice? It can be a religious, it can be, reading psalms, it can be whatever it is that it is, but you have to continue doing that and just see what joy does it bring you. And I know that, sometimes in Judaism, there's some streams of Judaism where they believe if you don't do this, if you don't do XYZ, God will punish you. Don't subscribe to that. No one should ever subscribe to that. God is not here to punish whoever you think God is, whatever your take is. There's no if you do that, then if you don't do that, God will punish you. And I heard it a lot growing up. It's just such an ignorant way of thinking that this will bring love in the world. Negativity will not bring more love in the world. A sense of I gotta punish that person, or seeking it's not gonna. This is not how we're built. We're built on shifting the consciousness scale to having more positivity, to pray for other people, even if we don't agree with them. That is okay. We're different, right? We're souls, but we're different. We think differently. We were brought up differently, so our psychological imprint is different. But pray for someone else that may need your help if you can't help them physically. So going out of that hideous equation of if you don't do this, God will punish you, and coming to a place where, this person is going through their spiritual growth, that spiritual journey. I'm in no position to judge anyone. I am not finished with my correction. I haven't found my purpose. And if my purpose is just, bickering about other people, then I need to take a really deep look into myself and see what is going on there. Because that 1 hour or 2 hours a week, wherever you went to, is not doing the trick.
Yeah. And it's moving from that external
Yes.
To the internal. And you can say that about any of these primary foods, really, like your career, the way you move. Like, it's not about what other people are telling you should do, or this idea that, when you're talking about spirituality, that, if I'm just good, I'll get into heaven and, make God happy. It's moving into the internal state of that. And the other thing I'll say that kind of like encompasses all of this too, and bringing into journey of intrinsic health. Well, first of all, I will say none of this works itself in its own little silos, right? Like nothing that we're talked about, it's all interconnected. But I think where it even goes deeper for me is with, like, for instance, with journey of intrinsic health, when we talked about nutrients, it everything infuses this idea of spirituality in the sense of like everything being connected, and that when we do eat our nutrients in our food, it's that understanding that like literally the plants have taken the sunshine and converted it into energy that we can then consume, and then our bodies in turn take that stored sunlight and convert it into energy that we can use. And so there's this powerful connection of everything, and this realization that everything is connected, and that starts coming through every piece of your life. And so I think that's where, to me, looking at spirituality or however you want to say, just that universal connectedness, where 10 years ago I would have been said that's not really that important to talk about, and now to see that it's the glue that holds every single thing together is where it just shows how things have shifted and how meaningful everything has become, I guess.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. And with that, I guess as a segue, the last one, which I don't know if because it's not really food, but water, hydration, is also critically important. And with that, and we've talked about that, we have a whole episode on hydration, and I know it's like weaved into a lot of our other episodes as well. But again, I saw it as just, okay, yeah, just drink water. Doesn't really matter what kind, to where now I see water as like it's so, it's such the, what am I trying to say? Like it is the channel for energy and consciousness. And it's critically important to not just hydrate with whatever water, but that you need living water. You need it electrical with your proper electrolytes and to be structured so it can get inside of your cells. So it's not just as simple as drinking eight glasses of water a day.
Yeah. And in dietetics, we're taught you need to drink half your body weight in water, but water is not as hydrating as people think. It has, hydration has a obviously positive impact on our physical and mental being. And if when you do consume adequate hydration levels, it helps to deliver those nutrients to the cells and keeping our organs functioning properly. And this includes our brain, right? So when we're well hydrated, we see improvements in sleep quality, in our cognition, in the mood. And I know that if someone suffers from any neurological problems or someone is under severe stress, then hydration is even more critical and can really help someone heal. So drinking water, living water, like we said. So what does that mean? To me, I always add lemon juice or even raw honey to my water. I know some people use electrolytes or magnesium or minerals of some sort. I stay away from most of them because it has natural flavor that does not agree with my body. But I do squeeze lemon. Coconut water is super hydrating, or freshly squeezed orange, freshly squeezed juices are a great way to ensure you're hydrated. And even eating more plants. Some
Right.
people say, eat your water. What does that mean? It means that plants have a lot of water, fruits have a lot of water, and being that we're 70 to 80% water, obviously it's going to hydrate our body. And so most people don't understand what proper hydration is. So just to reiterate, it's not just simply water. There's other ways of doing it.
Yeah. And being in nature as well, right? Like, because being able to ground yourself is going to bring in the negative ions that can then help with your hydration levels. And then bathing in,
Yes,
going into the ocean, going into natural waters is,
right.
yeah.
And not like going to a chlorinated pool that
Right.
sucks
That
your,
is
minerals.
actually dehydrating.
Yeah, yeah,
In fact, if you're doing that, you should rehydrate
yeah,
even more, that it's even more important. Yeah.
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 And
And that's, oh, go ahead.
because it enables nutrients to get to the cells, if someone is insulin resistant, that number of 3.8 grams of water to utilize 1 gram of carb needs to be doubled.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good stat. Um, yeah. And then with the water, cellular hydration, it really comes down to the function of your mitochondria. And if your that is the powerhouse of the cell where all of your energy is being created. So if you're slowly dehydrating the cell and the mitochondria can't function properly, then that's essentially the breakdown of that can lead to many different diseases.
Yeah, it controls your body temperature, so it acts as a thermostat, right? It allows your body to regulate the temperature throughout perspiration if you are doing an activity and sweat. So if you do hot yoga, for example, and I stopped doing hot yoga, I realized that I can't replenish and hydrate fast enough for my body to catch up with me losing all the minerals in hot yoga. But if you do decide to
Yeah.
do hot yoga or sauna, make sure that you're properly hydrating.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me the hard way to learn that how important it was to remineralize through
Yeah.
doing so much hot yoga. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And just remembering that the more your body has to adapt to survive, the less it can focus on performance, energy, and physique. So that means when we are putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, then we can really focus on other things that we have in life. So if it seems like too much information, which shouldn't be really, we'll put it in show notes, then you can start experiencing perhaps your ikigai. Then you can start doing your purposeful path in life, because everything else is already in place. Your health is at, optimal level, your hydration, your joyful movement, your community, everything is in its place, so that then you can go ahead and seek your sense of purpose in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that also brings up a good point too, that as we live life, there's always going to be the buckets that are getting filled. And then if we're not going with intention to fill all of these areas of our lives, sometimes a few of these can kind of start going to the bottom of the pile. So, it's not about like having this perfect balance, primary foods, and then that's it. I'm there, I've reached the destination, but it's that constant, intentionality of ensuring that your day is filled with all of these things to get or at least on a weekly basis. Yeah. I would say daily. It's kind of important to bring all of these in on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess in conclusion, is there anything else you would add to kind of what we've talked about?
Just to keep thinking of the fact that when we use secondary food as a way to elevate or suppress our hunger for primary food, the body and the mind will suffer, right? And then we can see weight gain as one of the consequences, or like we said, diet-related disorders, like including heart disease, obesity, ED, and so on and so forth. So focusing on the fact that, there is a saying by Osho, who is an Indian philosopher, who was an Indian philosopher. He said, just as food is needed for the body, love is needed for the soul. So next time when you go to that, whatever happy hour, grab something from the fridge, there's nothing wrong with it. But by all means, grab it, enjoy it. But just ask yourself if this is a time for a hug, if this is a time to pet my pet, if this is time to step outside to nature, or am I really seeking food because I'm really hungry? 80% of the time we're not really hungry. Thank God for, our substance.
Yes.
But yeah, love is
Yeah.
needed for the soul just as much as food is needed for our bodies.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And understanding that. And if you feel like you are struggling with just, what my diet, I would encourage you to find maybe a health coach that could start to help you delve into these different areas.
Yep.
And really look at them. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we've covered it. Yeah, and we'll put some of this in the show notes. And yeah, we're just glad we got to kind of look at that holistic viewpoint of all of these different things, and how it's not just the food where you derive energy from. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.